Are you preparing for the IELTS speaking test and wondering how to boost your confidence and get a higher score? Well, you are in the right place. Hi, I'm Ed, and welcome to Time with Ed, where I help you master IELTS, relocation, and everything in between. In this series, I'll break down the IELTS speaking test step by step, share expert tips, and give you sample answers to help you speak fluently, confidently, and naturally. So, if you are ready to improve your IELTS speaking skills and ace your IELTS, let's dive right in. Here are some effective IELTS speaking tips to help you perform confidently and maximize your score. I'm going to start with general tips for IELTS speaking. First of all, you'd have to be confident and natural. You have to speak clearly and at a steady pace, not too fast, not too slow. Remember, the test is a conversation. It is not a formal interview. So please relax and be yourself. Then, please practice fluency, not perfection. Please focus on communicating your ideas fluently rather than to speak without any mistakes. Don't overthink grammar while speaking. Fluency is more important. You need to expand your answers. Avoid short answers like yes or no. Instead, explain your answers with reasons, examples, or personal experiences. For example, if you are asked, do you like reading? Just don't say yes or no. You could say, yes, I love reading, especially fiction. It helps me relax and sparks up my imagination after a long day. Now, you have to quickly correct yourself if needed. If you make a mistake, you quickly correct it and move on. This shows that you are aware and capable of self-correction. Now, you equally have to use a range of vocabulary. Use synonyms and paraphrasing to show your vocabulary range. For example, instead of always saying important, you could use words like essential, vital, crucial. Focus on pronunciation. You have to speak clearly and stress the right syllables in words. Don't worry about your accent as long as your speech is understandable. Please do not fake any accents. Just be authentic, just be you. Practice pausing naturally. Use pauses instead of fillers like or, no. Pauses can make your speech sound more organized. Now, I want to talk about the tips for each speaking part. As you are well aware, we've got 3 parts in IELTS speaking. So I'm going to start with the tips for part 1 in speaking. Part 1 is mostly the introduction and interview. And the topics range from yourself, your hobbies, to family, works, or studies. Now, with the tips. You have to be concise, but avoid one-word answers. You have to practice talking about everyday topics. Use phrases like, one of my favorite hobbies is, or I've always enjoyed, and then you continue with whatever topic it is. In part 2, it's a long-term speaking, where you have to speak for 1 to 2 minutes on a given topic using a cue card. For the tips, you have to use 1 minute preparation time to jot down key points or ideas. You have to structure your response. And in structuring, you need to begin with an introduction, you expand on the details, and then you conclude with your personal thoughts or a related story. If you run out of things to say, add examples or explain your points further. In part 3 of the speaking test, it's a discussion where you're going to have a conversation with the examiner. Now, in the task, it's a conversation with the examiner about more complex and abstract topics. These are the tips you need. You have to give detailed answers with reasons, examples, or hypothetical situations. Use linking phrases like, on one hand, for instance, this reminds me of. Stay calm and listen carefully to the examiner's questions. If you are unsure, ask for clarification with phrases like, "Could you rephrase the question, please?" Now, these are your final tips. Practice with a partner. Simulate the test environment by practicing with someone who can provide feedback. Record yourself. Listen to your recordings to identify areas for improvement, like pronunciation or fluency. Stay positive. The examiner isn't there to trick you. They simply want to see how well you can communicate in English. Here's a mock IELTS speaking test script for all 3 parts. You can use it to practice your responses. So, let's start with part 1, which is the introduction and the interview, where we would assume I am the examiner. Good morning. My name is Edwina. Can you please tell me your full name? And then you give your response. Thank you. Where are you from? And this is where you give a brief answer about your hometown or country. Let's talk about your hobbies. Do you have a favorite hobby? How often do you spend time on your hobby? Is there a new hobby you'd like to try? So, as I'm asking these questions, you could pause it question by question and then you give the answer. Remember, in this part, the examiner asks and then you answer like that. All right? Good. Then let's proceed. Now, let's talk about travel. Do you like traveling? Why? Or why not? What's the most interesting place you visited? Would you like to travel to another country in the future? So this is an example of part 1. Let's move to part 2, which is the long term with the cue card. We pretend I'm still the examiner. Now, I'm going to give you a topic. You will have 1 minute to think about it, and you can make notes if you wish. After that, you'll speak for 1 to 2 minutes. Are you ready? So we are going to pretend I'm the examiner, and then I'll give you the cue card with the topic, all right? So this is the cue card topic. Describe a memorable trip you have taken. If you get something like this, you should say where you went, who you went with, what you did during the trip, and explain why it was memorable. So the preparation time is 1 minute. At this point, you have the cue card there with the topic, and then it tells you in bits what is expected of you. You have 60 seconds or 1 minute to prepare your answer, after which you would have 1 to 2 minutes to speak. So now let's assume you've prepared your answer, 1 minute has elapsed, and it's your turn to speak. Now I'm going to pretend I'm you, the candidate, all right? This is an example answer. One of the most memorable trips I've taken was to Edinburgh, Scotland, last summer. I went with my best friend and we planned it as a short weekend getaway. We explored Edinburgh Castle, walked along the Royal Mile, and even attended a traditional Scottish dance event. What made it unforgettable was a combination of the beautiful scenery, rich history, and friendly locals. It was a perfect mix of relaxation and adventure, and I would love to visit again soon. After you say something like this, the examiner will tell you, thank you. And then you move to part 3, which is a discussion. So in part 3 of the discussion, it goes like this. I am acting as the examiner here. Let's discuss travel and tourism in more detail. Why do people like to travel to new places? And this is where you're going to answer like that. I think people enjoy traveling because it allows them to experience different cultures, meet new people, and take a break from their daily routines. Traveling is also a great way to learn and gain new perspectives. Then the examiner asks something like this. How can tourism affect the environment? And then you could answer this way. Tourism can have both positive and negative effects On one hand, it can help raise awareness about the importance of preserving nature. On the other hand, it can lead to pollution and overuse of natural resources if it's not managed properly. Tourism can have both positive and negative effects. On one hand, it can help raise awareness about the importance of preserving nature. On the other hand, it can lead to pollution and overuse of natural resources if it's not managed properly. For example, popular tourist destinations can suffer from overcrowding and waste. Then the examiner can ask you a question like this: what is the role of technology in modern travel? And then you could answer this way: technology has completely transformed how we travel. Apps like Google Maps and online booking platforms make it easier to plan trips. Social media also influence people's travel decisions by showcasing beautiful destinations. However, some may argue that the over-reliance on technology takes away the sense of adventure. And this is where the examiner says something like, "Thank you. That's the end of the speaking test." So guys, as you've seen, the speaking test is more like a conversation we have every day with a friend or a colleague. Don't see it as an interview. From the format I gave you earlier in the sample answers, you could just see that you just need to be natural. Don't overthink. If you make a mistake, just move on. And I wish you the very best in your speaking tests. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share. See you next time on Time with Ed.